Welcome to Keep Your Head Up Hockey. I'm your host, Jamie, and we got J-Dog in the house celebrating a win. You gotta love it. You gotta love the W's in the playoffs. How's it going, J-Dog?
1-0, brother. 1-0. And it's one more step. And the one thing there was a ton of people hitting on me, telling me, oh, you said sweep with Ottawa. It's going to be sweep with Florida. And the first game, they dominated right from start to finish with about a 12-minute period in the third period. I shouldn't say start to finish because there was about a 12-minute period in the third period.
Yeah.
Things looked a little, a little shady. However, they took over again towards the end and celebrating with a little bit of JP Chenet that you can't get in Canada.
I love it. What a game, and Leafs played well. Like you said, I thought that it was their game to lose. Kind of just dominated from the get go, and it was really nice to see. And the only thing is that Stillers got hurt, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. We got to talk though about another series close to J Dog's heart. Boy, oh boy, what a game 7 in Winnipeg. Holy Hannah. I tell you, buddy, I've seen some game 7s, but none like that one. What a comeback. Amazing for Winnipeg, the city, and their fans. So happy to see it. Wow. What score was 1.3 seconds left to send it to overtime? Just unbelievable. And I know you're a big fan of Winnipeg, buddy. What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, I find Toronto and Winnipeg are very similar players when it comes to the way that they play. As far as uh, they'll lull you to sleep for a while, then they score in bunches, and they look like they're out of the game. I revert this back to what I was saying before about the Kansas City Chiefs. I know it's a football reference, but whatever. Kansas City always looks like they're out in an important game, and then they score 3 touchdowns. Next thing you know, they're up by 7. So it's the same thing with the Leafs in Winnipeg. I find that they tend to they have so much talent up front. They're always a threat to score. And with both teams being at least 2 lines deep as far as scoring ability on a regular basis, and 3 lines deep as far as scoring ability, and 4 lines deep as far as a good hockey team. So you're never out of it when you have 4 lines running and you have 4 lines running strong. And they went through about a 25-minute to 30-minute lull in that game. I don't know what the hell happened. They didn't come out the greatest. They did, they played better in the second. Obviously, the third was where they pulled their shit together. But I still think, I don't know what happened to Hellebuyck. I'll tell you this: he's still, I don't know what happened. He talked about his game the other day, saying, I've studied hockey more than or goaltending more than any other person on the planet or whatever. And it's like, since he said that, it's he jinxed himself. He's not. If it wasn't for the team in front of him, this time it wasn't him. The last couple games have not been him. It's been the team. So, and where that's fine though. There's nothing wrong with that, because you got to get through 5 players to get to the goalie anyway. And if you're not doing your job, the goalie's got to back you up. But in this case, I think that it's been a long time coming that he didn't have to depend on the goalie. So it just showed that they actually do have some depth and they have some heart, and they're definitely a lot tougher. They're a big fucking heavy team, man. If they want to play physical, they're going to be physical. And I think that's what started happening. They started getting a little bit more physical on the puck, and they were playing the boards well. They clogged up the middle of the ice in the third period, and then they did the same thing again except for that one play they almost got scored on. But they pretty much sealed the deal in the third. And as soon as I seen them score that goal in the third, I knew it was over. I knew they were going to win. I made a couple of bets at the bar. Two dudes. I'm going to plug that place. It's a good little spot down in Corrales and Punta Cana here in Bavaro. But anyway, great place to watch games. 7 TVs, and they'll put any game on for you. Canadian owner and Dominican girlfriend, and they're super into sports. It's a great little spot. kind of like ours. Just so you know, I'm going to plug my place too. Las Corrales, Cumau, where my restaurant is. Che Bavaro. You want some good Argentinian eats? My partner's from Argentina and has some of the best recipes on the planet when it comes to Argentinian barbecue. I was wearing the hat there the last show and I forgot to mention it, but it's a big dance place as well. And like after hours, after 11 o'clock, it will go right till 5 in the morning if need be. There's 6 restaurants and a great big bar with 2 great big huge TV screens to be watching. And I mean like 20 foot by 10 foot big TV screens. So it's a great spot to go. The food's good, 6 different restaurants and the bar, of course, and my place, Che Bavaro.
They've got like a cigar place in there too, and
Yeah.
a liquor place. And there's
Yep.
like inside the bar, there's these little huts, little
Yep.
buildings that you can go into to either get food or get a nice, cognac or get a cigar. Like a really neat place, Jay. I
Yeah,
gotta say,
hookah.
and,
They got hookah in there too, which smells
what's it
good, but
called
I
again?
wouldn't. That's not something I do.
What's it called again, Jay?
Hookah. It's those things you see like in Dubai. There's this big stack with a pipe.
You know what hookah is? The actual place to go to.
Oh no, hookah is actually what it's called. Yeah, well, there might be a place called hookah. I don't know, but
no. Your place that you're talking about. The place that you're talking about,
it's
the bar.
The Smoke Shack. I think it's called the Smoke Shack in there. The Smokehouse, I think. But you got cigars and whatever else, and then you get there's some whiskeys in there, 25 grand. I mean, it's a collection, of course.
Gosh.
I mean, it's for collectors, but there's some really nice stuff in there. But anyway, getting back to whatever, it's a great place to watch sports. They'll watch whatever games you want as well, and dancing afterwards. And then, but again, getting back to watching the game the other night, I was at Two Dudes, and we got a great spot there, and all the TVs were hockey. So there's about 12, 14 Canadians in there, and we took over.
So Canadians, you're listening to this. If you want to go somewhere south, but still have access to all your hockey during the playoffs, Punta Cana is where to go. So, they love their hockey down there just as much as we do almost.
Yeah,
I got to say,
baseball,
hockey.
Basketball is actually pretty big down here too, but they call it Punta Canada for a reason. And they do, like everybody here calls it Punta Canada because there's about 32,000 Canadians that are down here every year. So, and I mean staying down here, not just visiting. So it's a very heavily Canadian based place, and you'll find Canadians everywhere.
All right. Well, another shout out to Winnipeg. What a comeback. Game 7. They win it at home and in just a dynamite fashion. What a game. But obviously the most important game was the one that happened the other night. Leafs win 5-4, game 1, and we're chugging along against Florida. Huge thing that happened though. The huge thing that happened though was Stolarz. Couple things. Number 1, got a slap shot right to the face in period 1. And to be honest, Jay, people are saying that the elbow caused the concussion. I'm not sure. Is that slap shot head on? Like, that was a pretty hard shot. I was thinking that might have done something to Stolarz as well. But later on the game, Bennett in close, elbow right to the head. It didn't look as bad as people are getting on about it. But again, here's Bennett in the playoffs and injuring another player. What are your thoughts on what happened between Bennett and Stolarz, and how big of a headache is Bennett to the Leafs?
Well, I honestly think that it could be a combination of both. There was a pretty good bean with that shot in the head. The bucket came off a little bit there, and I'm sure, but he didn't react like that was a stunning type of shot. So it could be a little bit of both. However, when you look at the replay of Bennett coming through, the initial run into was right into the side of the neck. And if you know anything about concussion or knocking people out, this is called your brachial nerve right here. That there will shut your body down. It'll actually flatten you out. And it might even take a second or 2 or 3 before it kicks in. But like if you know anything about martial arts or self-defense or anything like that, anywhere in here, it's called a brachial stun. And your brachial nerve, which runs right into your medulla oblongata, that's the way you say it, I'm pretty sure, which is in the back of your head, it shuts your lights out, man. And yes, it can make you sick. When we when I went through military police academy, or when I was doing Secure Core armored car, we all had to do that kind of crap and basically knock the shit out of each other. Make sure you know how it feels to make sure you know how it works. I've never actually had it done to me in real, it was real when we were training, but not in any fights or anything like that. However, I have been punched right like this before, and it shut me down. But it was more in the front. Now it caught me in the throat a little bit too, but so it could have been a little bit of both. But I'll tell you right now, it shut me down, and it was like here. So that nerve is right in there. And if you get a hold of that and give it a rattle, which is exactly what happened with him. So that the people that are saying, oh, he flopped and whatever else, let one of your friends that are the same size as you give you a little shot in the neck and see how that works. Even a little karate chop from about this far away, but boom, like that. And I'll tell you right, that it'll fucking knock your knees together and shut you down a little bit. If you get it hard enough, and if you already had a bean in the head earlier, and then you have that as well, it could be a multiple, of that as well. And they haven't even really said too much. So I think I cut out there for a second, but he might not even been feeling well on top. Yeah, and he might not have been feeling well on top of that either. So a combination of any of the three, but he was going through fast enough to hit him hard enough to fucking give him a concussion. There's no question. And on the follow through, it's not when he first hit him, but when he actually made contact, then he kind of followed through with his elbow. And you can see it plain as day. Anybody that says otherwise is full of shit.
Yeah, it definitely was intent to injure. Now, like I've seen a lot worse elbows for sure, but any elbow to the head, especially to a goaltender, it's a no for sure. And we were talking last game. Jay, you were telling me last game, run Bobrovsky, run him every chance you get. Take out the goalie, run him. Who cares? Take the penalty. He's a great goaltender. Get him out of the game. Obviously, Florida had the same freaking game plan.
It makes sense.
It's a war. Why not take out your number one player? Why not take out your captain? Why not take out the leader? Like the king of your chess set is your goaltender. And if you can take him out, then yeah, you're gonna have an easier time. Now they're facing Wall at home tonight. It's gonna be a tough game for the Leafs. Wall's gonna jump in when he didn't think he'd have to. Can he do it? Absolutely he can, Jay. But this is a setback and a big F you to Florida for the cheap shot. Yeah, we were gonna do the same thing, but we didn't. Maybe we will now. That'd be my game plan now. Is throw somebody disposable and just have them run Bobrovsky. Eye for an eye, tit for a tat.
You can't. That's the other thing. You can't do it with somebody disposable. You gotta make sure that it's one of your. Well, there's no reason why a guy like Domi or a guy like who knows? It doesn't really matter who. Pacioretty could run through there, and just he's a beast as it is. It just run through and hey, if you make contact, you make contact. Matthews can do the same thing. He's a big enough dude, and they wouldn't suspect Matthews of doing something like that because he's such a pussy normally. So I think that he's not an antagonistic type player. So maybe that might be your plan. If I was Berube, that's what I'd be telling him. Marner of all people, get Marner to go through there, but make sure that friggin' Domi and Pacioretty are on the ice with him at the time, not Matt or Matthews and Willie, because they all get their ass handed to them. But you gotta start thinking the same way that Florida does, and you gotta start thinking with everything is with malintent. Every shot you take, has to, if you don't have a shot, there has to be destruction involved. Just hit them, hit the players with the fucking puck. Those bruises add up, especially over a 7-game series. Start shooting the puck mid-stomach, mid-area, crotch area, hit somebody in the nuts with the puck. When they're turning sideways, make sure if you don't have anything that's going to get on net, make sure they pay the price. Hammer that puck. Ankles, especially ankles. You can break an ankle with a slap shot. These skates today, They're made of hard, like they're almost like a hard polymer plastic. I mean,
Yeah.
they're great for stability, but when you get a shot on there, they're almost buckle like carbon fiber does. It absorbs it, but it doesn't break. But it hurt. It still hurts like fuck. So I'm gonna say, like start using your head. And Paul Maurice last year for Florida, uh, was in game 2, I think it was, and he screamed and yelled at the bench, and he said, "Stop making plays. Start hammering the defense so they have nothing in game 7." And that's exactly the way. This is the most prolific statement, or prolific, maybe not that, but I think the most common sense statement that you could ever make. Hammer the shit out of the defense so they break down by game 7. And that's by game 6, hopefully. They just had a war with Tampa. It didn't go that long, but they still had a war with Tampa. Let's keep it going. Don't let them heal.
Paul Maurice said almost the exact same thing earlier in round 1. Who do your players hit? Anybody with the puck, and we may hit you even without the puck. I just love this Paul Maurice guy. Yeah, he just loves to, get these guys pumped up and really directs them almost like a war, almost like a chess game. And I just absolutely love it. He's fantastic. I don't know why Leafs let him go, but he's a tough coach to coach against, man. But payback's a bitch, right? Like I really think that the Leafs should be looking for a little bit of payback on that hit against Stolarz, #1 goalie of the year, I would say in the NHL. He's had that kind of outstanding numbers that he's had this year. Comes into this series and he's standing on his head. And what do? They take him out. And it's the guy that took Knies out last year in the playoffs. Knies, second game ever in the NHL, and he body slams Knies to the ice. No penalty call, no suspension. I was fucking livid last year. I remember the show. I was right pissed after that game. But like Leafs gotta be payback, man. Like payback's a bitch. Like we gotta pay them back for Knies and for Stolarz now, man. I think it's gonna be fights. I think gloves off tonight for sure, guaranteed. You've heard it first here, but Jay, do you think there's gonna be some fights tonight?
It depends on how it goes. I think if Toronto gets off to a good start, I don't think so until more around the third period. And I'll say that only because Boston, or because Florida will not allow like Toronto to take over physically. I don't think that they have any possibility of winning if they start playing that kind of game right off the start. I think they have to start off the same way they did the last game and come out flying and come out in waves. If you watch, it wasn't just in the offensive zone or going through the middle of the ice. They actually came in waves in the defensive zone last game as well. So it was, what one guy would pass through. If he got beat, the other guy came in right away. But the last 2 years, that one of the biggest problems they had in the defensive zone was they have their zone coverage, which I don't like. I think man-to-man is the best way to go, but that's especially when you're playing a team like this. But with them, the way they were playing last year in comparison to this year, it's a whole different ball game. I think Berube's got a much better style of playing matchup against this team. They're playing a little bit more man-to-man, but it's like one guy drops off, the other guy jumps in. It's definitely a lot better. They didn't even do that this is the weird part. They didn't even do that in the Senators series. This is a whole different type of playing defensive hockey, which is why Florida had barely any chances in the first and second period. They got away from it in the third period, and that's when Florida ended up starting taking advantage.
Yeah, Florida, like if the Leafs play the way that we can play, Jay, I don't think that Florida is going to win unless they get dirty like they have, right? And it might be paying off in the spades because, like I said, Wool's coming in now, right? And we just don't know what to expect. But Leafs looking for payback tonight. Round 2 coming up. Ding ding. What is your key to success for the Leafs tonight? Because 2-0 against Florida, going to Florida, that's going to be absolutely massive for the Leafs. And how do you make that happen, Jay? What would you do if you were the coach of the Leafs?
Well, what I just touched on was probably the number one thing. Come in waves. Don't let anybody get by. Like if somebody gets by you, defensive zone or even in the offensive, it doesn't really matter where. There's got to be another guy coming in right away. And there's nothing wrong with out manning guys on the puck, especially in the defensive zone, where if they got 2 guys on the puck, then you put 3 on there. You just got to make sure that you're covered in all aspects. Be on the outside, 1 guy in the middle and 2 guys on the outside. Don't make it so they have an outlet, where they can get an outlet pass. Have 1 guy, when they're in tight in the corners, have it so there's it's 1, 2, 3, and a Florida guy here and a Florida guy here. And then out further, have 1 guy, one of the defenders or it could be the centerman out here, and then the other guy in front of the net. So that way, both guys can come out and make sure that if they have to, if the puck does squirt out, they got 2 guys to jump out after, so the defenders don't get a free shot on net. The defensemen get a free shot on net. So you got to make sure, though, just wave after wave, both ends of the ice. The forechecking has to be Florida's used to being the aggressor, and that's why they lost the first game. Toronto was the aggressor 2 periods. Toronto was the aggressor for the whole first 2 periods, and they didn't know what to do. They didn't have time. It was their own medicine. Berube played that game, coached that game absolutely perfectly. With a little lapse, I guess it's not absolutely perfect, but pretty darn close to perfect with that lapse. But I don't think that it was him. I think it was the players. I don't think his plan was to take the foot off the gas pedal in the way they were playing the players. It's a hard way to play if you're not used to playing that all the time. Right. Because you're skating hard the whole game. And I think they got a little bit tired. But if they play that way all the time, you look at Florida, that's the way they play all the time. And those guys are in shape. None of these guys are bigger, thicker dudes. They're lean, but they're muscular, but they're lean like that. But they're a big, strong team. But they're fit. They're very fit. And even Marchand, some of the plays he was making the other night, he came in from the right side, cut across the middle, cut across again, and just the mental IQ, the hockey IQ is sick. I hate that he went there. But those are the types of things that you can't let happen. If one guy drops off, you can't let that guy, go right to the middle like that and keep cutting across. It was the same thing with the goal that Domi got, a few weeks ago. You can't let that happen. You got to put the guy on his ass. You can't just skate by him. You don't get freebies.
Marchand is 36 years of age and still playing the quality of hockey that he's playing. That's a timeless player. We can say all the things that we want to say about him. We hate him, whatnot, but he's one heck of a hockey player, and he will be until he hangs him up. And he's making an impact. But the Leafs, I think, have really got to shut down their zone tonight defensively. For my keys to success is keep the traffic out of Wall's way. If Wall's going to make a great save, he's got to see the puck. And I think that Florida does a great job crashing the net, and the Leafs have got to kind of keep that to the outside for the most part if they can, Jay, to be successful tonight. Because I really think that they're going to try and get a lot of bodies of Wall and try and piss him off tonight because he's coming in for Stolarz. Number 2, bang and crash. I thought that they did a great job with that the other night, Jay, is dumping the puck in and then getting it and getting a guy on the man immediately. The Leafs aren't that type of hockey. They don't play that type of hockey, right? They're not a dump and chase type of team. But I thought that they did that quite well against Florida and surprised me. So I'd say continue that as well. And then 3, keep up the urgency, because I tell you, from game 6 of Ottawa to game 1 now against Florida, this is our hockey team, right? This is why we got excited about this team this year for the playoffs, is because this is the type of hockey that they can play if they focus. So that's what I'd say, Jay. Any final thoughts before we wrap the show up, buddy?
Well, Wall's got to play his best game of the season, I think. The only good thing about Wall is he doesn't seem to really get rattled, even when he gets like that one goal that he got on him that went over his shoulder. That was weak. He should have been more upright, and he just kind of got weirdly contorted with his body. I don't know what happened there. But it was a knuckler, and it was kind of floated and knuckled over top of him. It wasn't like it was a laser or anything. So I think it was thrown off. He wasn't, so the rest of the game he played pretty well, I thought. He's a good goalie, man. I think he's not even rated in the top 20, but I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. I think he's a top 20 goalie. It's just when you got a guy like Stolarz who's so much better than everybody else right now. I think, except for Bobrovsky, he's better than Hellebuyck right now. So this is the comparison you're making. Well, there's a big drop off between Stolarz, Bobrovsky, and everybody else. I will say Kemper, he's a pretty good goalie right now too. So he's up there, but he's still not. I think he's not these two.
All right. Well, my game prediction for tonight, J Dog. I'm saying overtime. It's going to be a 2-2 game going overtime. I'm sorry, but it's going to be a coin flip on who wins. I don't know who's going to win. It's going to be that damn close. I'm going to guess that it's going to be the Leafs. I'm going to say Tavares in overtime. What are your thoughts on the score tonight?
4-1 Leafs.
4-1 Leafs. All right. Well, you've heard it here first.
Another thing, let me change that. I say 4-2. 4-2.
All right, 4-2. Well, you've heard it here. Honor, pride, and courage. That's what the Leafs are all about. And tonight is round 2, game 2, baby. Get pumped up. And I got one word for the Leafs. I got one wish. Take the fucking Bobrovsky out of this series and do it tonight. Take his out. Get him. Take his head up. You heard it. Keep your head up, hockey. I'm Jamie. We got J-Dog. Game 2. Get pumped. Go Leafs. Go. We'll see you next time.